region? Do you think the average person in the region is aware of the inequities of graduation rates throughout the region and how poorly some of our high schools are actually doing?
I don't think they are. I think people tend to get these ideas in their head. For instance, every Detroit public school is abysmal and nobody graduates in Detroit. I mean, that kind of is the message, and everybody else is doing just fine. Or else we tend to pigeonhole communities by race and socioeconomic class, and we don't really understand what's going on in the schools. It's kind of, they just kind of paint this broad picture because people don't oftentimes want to take the time to really understand what the data are. And so it's the same thing with people feel that charter schools are the answer to everything. And yet we know charter schools in many cases are doing much more poorly than the public schools. So there are a lot of issues, and I know that we recognize Detroit has a low graduation rate. We can question of what that actual rate is. But you're seeing similar kinds of problems in a lot of different school districts. It may not be to the same degree, but we do have an issue, and particularly kids of color. And we're seeing, especially young African-American males are dropping out of school at very high rates. And it's not because they want to drop out of school. I mean, there are a lot of issues, and we tend to be very quick to say they don't care, they're not interested in education, they just want to hang out. And it really starts to feed back to how those kids were raised, what kinds of messages were given to them, how they were expelled at higher rates for similar issues. I mean, it's just an unfair treatment, and we need to really step back and see what messages we're giving kids early on, and how do we keep them engaged in school so that they do graduate from high school and then go on post.
On that same note, that very same note, in terms of that indicator and what you've just said, why should somebody who doesn't even have children in school in the region care about what you just told us? And why should it matter to them that there are problems with some schools with graduation rates and that it's not consistent across the board?
Well, I could say it's a socially responsible thing, but I mean, there is an issue of equity. And something that I feel very strongly about, and we need to put that message out, is that everybody should have an equal opportunity to be able to thrive. In other words, to go to a school where they have books and supplies, where they're encouraged to expand their knowledge, where they're encouraged to stay in school and graduate. This is not, it's so often our graduation rates are really more about the institutional barriers that are out there. And it does, you know, in the bigger picture, high school graduation rates and then leading to college graduation rates and others, this reflects outwardly. And people make a lot of decisions on locations, again, around schools.